Okay, Sarah Stieber has lots of things going on, so I've had her come by so she can tell us all about it. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, John. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to see you again.
You too. And your studio is looking as colorful as always.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's
I
been
moved
it's
into a
been
new studio since we've last spoken.
just one. I think you've made a few moves, have you, or has it just been the one move?
I guess it depends. I have made a few moves, but most of them, but now I have a studio inside of my home, and this is the home that
Ah,
started my whole design journey, but we'll get to that.
beautiful. Yeah, like I think from memory, last time we spoke, you were about to have either your first or second pop-up show for the summer in
Okay.
a space that you had organized yourself. You'd organized the whole thing yourself. It was brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. The last one of those that I did was 4 years ago. Hard to
Yeah, right.
believe. Feels like a lifetime, and certainly a lot. There's been a whole global pandemic and whatnot in between.
Was there?
Um, old news, old news. But now I'm actually gearing up to reopen that gallery this spring, but with a twist and with everything that I've learned basically in isolation over those last 4 years.
Right. So will it be in the same place again?
Exactly. Yes, it'll be in the same place, just a little bit different.
Right. So what way is it going to be? I think it's living room themed or something I read somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So since I last saw you, I've really been exploring a lot of different mediums, a lot actually due to the pandemic. So, we were into lockdown. I had to move out of my warehouse style art studio and into my living room. So we moved the living room table or the kitchen table and, or the sorry, moved into the dining room. We moved the dining room table into the hallway and then made that my little art studio space. But it ended up being a blessing in some ways because I was, for the first time in my life, creating artwork in a living space, in a space that the artwork, in a space similar to where the artwork would end up. So that really like transformed my understanding of what art was for, which sounds kind of surprising, maybe. I was just working in a big warehouse and making giant paintings and making it all about the art, but not so much considering the space that it would live in. So being home with my paints, I was just started expanding the paint off of the canvas essentially. I started painting every door, every wall. It's like I had my paint with me. So I figured I may as well just paint every surface. And then I got really into interior design basically by accident because of that. And I started considering my paintings for the spaces they were going to go in. And then from there, I started a design business and moved into a new home and really went crazy designing it. I also started experimenting painting with tape and have developed probably, I don't know, 8 series of artwork made completely out of cut and pasted tape. And so basically, I'm coming back 4 years later with everything that I have learned, and I'm opening San Diego's first interior design inspired pop up art gallery in Little Italy, San Diego.
Wow. Help me get my head around what that would actually look like.
Yeah, so it's the same space as before. So you may kind of, have the space in your mind's eye.
Yeah.
It's a gallery space. And I'm partnering with a bunch of different brands that I really like to work with and that have really colorful, interesting things. So I'm partnering with Ruggable Rugs, Dust Furniture, who's this company based in Michigan who creates this like custom, swirly, playful, whimsical furniture that's like nothing I've ever seen before. And I'm collaborating with the paint company in California, Dunn Edwards. And basically, I'm going to be turning the gallery space into a maximalist, color packed living room esque space. With, of course, my paintings on the walls like a typical gallery. So, my hope is that when people walk into the space, they're not just seeing the artwork on a blank wall, but they're kind of seeing a whole experience where they can sit on the couch and kind of experience the spaces as though they were in a really funky, vibrant living room.
Right. So when you were saying you started a design business, is it interior design that's what that business is?
Sort of. So I call it Stieber Spaces, and that is sort of an umbrella design business that encompasses my interior design and my murals because I found that I've started doing a lot more murals also in the last couple of years. And I found that those are like fine art paintings that can sometimes inch into the world of design because you have to create site specific murals and then sometimes you're incorporating design elements. Sometimes the murals are inside of somebody's home and they have to incorporate the design of what's around them. So yes, that was a long answer, but basically it is an interior design business, but it's a very art focused interior design business that encompasses murals as well.
Yeah. And what is the style of the living room space going to be in the this new gallery?
Really colorful, lots of patterns layered on top of each other. Definitely a space that has my artwork in mind and kind of jumps off of the palette that my artwork already has, and that like joyful, exuberant, playful energy. I'm going to be painting some decorative wall murals, have really funky rugs, that kind of thing. And then we have a whole lot of events that we're planning as well. And to kind of drive the idea home that it's like I want people to feel like they're in my space. I'm working um, with Humboldt Distillery, and they're making custom craft cocktails inspired by my paintings. I'm working with several local vegan businesses that are like Split Bakery is creating pastries that are inspired by my work. So I'm hoping it'll really feel like this, like all these art forms are coming together to facilitate this experience.
Yeah. So are you going to have like a weekly cocktail hour or something like that?
We're gonna have kind of, yeah. I mean, I haven't been thinking of it quite like that, but yeah, we're hosting a preview party for my collectors right before the gallery opens. Then we're hosting a weekend, like an art walk weekend. So we open the gallery during San Diego's biggest art walk, which just happens to be right outside the gallery's doors. So that'll be really fun.
Beautiful.
Doing an interactive art booth as part of that, where people can come and paint with tape with me. And then the next weekend, I believe, we're hosting this grand opening bash. So that's always been like a crazy over the top party, like lines out the doors, cocktails, the whole thing. And then we're hosting a design night where it was basically my excuse to invite like all of my favorite designers and upholsterers and color experts to be on a panel discussion around incorporating color into your space and basically fusing the world of design and fine art.
Beautiful. Are you going to stream those or can people tune into those?
Oh, that's a good question that I have not figured out, but because we're here right now and it's such a good idea, I will say yes. Yes, you can find
Well,
them
even like
somewhere on my website.
An Instagram live or
Oh, for
something like that.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think we'll
That
have
sounds
to do
great.
that. Yeah, I'm
Um,
really excited.
so you are always very smart when it comes to business. So I am guessing that all these other companies that you have, that are going to provide the furniture and everything, that you have like arrangements with them, or I'm guessing you have because you're so smart at this kind of stuff.
Oh, thank you. Well, they are sponsoring the gallery. So it's sort of like they're providing the products, to be featured, and they're hand selected products by me. So it's all stuff I would want to show in there anyway. And yeah, so it's sort of a collaboration. It's not so much that they're funding the gallery, though we do have some sponsors that are helping to fund the gallery. And then, so yes, I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared for that question. But yes, we are
Well,
working with sponsors.
yeah. So when people go and they sit on the couch and they go, "Wow, I like this couch," I'm assuming they can buy the couch as well. Not, bring it home in their car. I don't mean that, but you know what I mean. It's a showcase for all the designs that you feel passionate about.
Exactly, exactly. So then throughout the gallery, we're going to have signage and information about where all of the products are from and where they can purchase it. And ideally, it's sort of like a win-win where people can come into the gallery and kind of experience the art and this really cool furniture and then be introduced to some really cool furniture that they may not have known about before.
Yeah. That is a brilliant idea because I remember last time um, you didn't have any of that, and you were very conscious of the gamble that you were taking financially by putting on your
Yeah.
own show. So this idea of um, like facing the very obvious fact that most of the artwork is going to end up in somebody's home and going, hey, well, let's not, pretend we all live in beautiful white galleries. We don't. So
Hmm.
let's, embrace that. Let's run towards that idea and use it to help take the strain off putting on your own show. So it's like you've taken your original thing, which was very innovative at the time, of like just and very go ahead, because a lot of artists are like, well, I want the gallery to do all that stuff for me. You just kind of went ahead and did it yourself, and you've sort of taken that and gone to the next level with it of sort of making it because the more a collaborative event, because the more people you involve in something like that, the more people who want it to succeed, and
Yeah,
you multiply the promotion of the whole thing.
absolutely. I think that was better said than I could have said myself. Thank you, John. And I think also like the older I get, the more aligned this concept feels with me, like art from an artistic and like creative and inspiration perspective. So, for example, just last weekend I was in Seattle and I went to the Chihuly exhibit. And my husband and I were walking around and being like, oh my God, I mean, this artwork is incredible, but like, who the heck is this curator? I mean, they thought to paint the wall this color, like, that's brilliant. And we're walking through these exhibits, and it's like, it's about the pieces, sure. Like, of course, Chihuly's work is beautiful, but had it been just sitting on a pedestal or in an art gallery with white walls around other people's stuff, it would have had definitely a different experience. And we were so blown away by the way everything was lit and how intentional it was and how much of an experience being in those spaces was, like how absolutely thought through it was. And by the time we got to the end of the exhibit, I asked somebody who it was, and they said, oh, the artist Dale Chihuly designed this whole space. This was his
Wow.
idea. He custom created this paint color to go on the walls. He calls it the Dale Chihuly paint color. And I
Wow.
was like, duh, that's what really at this point I feel like is like the next step for my art, is like, sure, my artwork, hopefully my artwork stands alone. I mean, I'm making it so that it can live as its own individual thing, but I want to facilitate an experience around it,
Yeah.
and inspire people to kind of incorporate um, creativity in the work that they're selecting, but also outside of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of Rothko. You know how like specific he was about the height his paintings were, how far from each other. You know that I think it's in New York. There's the room with all the and he designed that whole room as a kind of an
Oh,
immersive experience.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
he
definitely gonna
was
have to look
very
into it.
specific about it. Yeah, I think it was like written into, like you remember the banana with the duct tape. There was like instructions
Yeah.
came with that. There was
Uh-huh.
instructions. He had instructions for that room, and that the artworks couldn't be sold, and he was really, yeah, very specific about it.
Oh, that's so interesting. But it makes sense in a way, right? Like, I feel like if artwork is a visual expression and it's supposed to make you feel something or be about something and be on display something, it seems like almost limited that it would just end with that or I don't know, with the especially with just the way I'm thinking right now. I think that if that intention is that it just ends with that as a beautiful object that could live anywhere, that's awesome. Um, but it's just really inspiring to me right now to kind of imagine the whole, not only the work but where the work goes, and then not only where the work goes but the experience around that. Maybe I'm just kind of controlling, but I think
Oh no,
it
I
just
think
makes
you're.
for a more interesting experience. Sorry,
Yeah,
what were
no,
you going to say?
I think you're right. Like, like the context and the packaging. I don't mean that in a product kind of way, but the way
Yeah.
something is displayed That makes a big difference. Like whenever I see any of the old pictures of the salons, the either in London or Paris, where they had the paintings like from floor to ceilings. It's just wall to wall paintings.
Yeah,
It always makes me like almost nauseous because it's like, how can you see anything when this just explosion of images? It's too much. I'd rather just have a completely blank wall and one painting, and so I can just see it.
absolutely. And it's like if that curation of that floor to ceiling, they practically had artwork on the ceilings. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If that's maybe part of the way they want the patrons of the arts to feel when they walk in, like overwhelmed with art, cool. I'm guessing it's not though. And I think it's really important to think through, yeah, how it's displayed and what kind of feeling you want people to have with your art, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm excited. I hope it comes together in a as joyful and exciting and cohesive of a way as I have in my mind's eye.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I noticed you mentioned your husband. You weren't married last time we spoke, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And speaking of family, last time your mum was involved a lot, heavily involved in the last one. Is she involved in this one much?
She is. Yeah, was just texting with her before coming on with you. So yeah, she's still very much part of the picture. And but the team has grown, and they just this year, January 1st, hired a full-time employee, which has been such an exciting journey. So yeah, we're all working together and doing a lot of outreach, and we're all going to be working at the gallery together. So if you're in San Diego, come visit my mom.
Yeah, brilliant. And tell me a little bit about the tape painting. Did you come up with that, or did you just see it and apply it to your own style, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so the journey of tape painting, I think of it as like a 15-year journey because when I was back in art school back at Boston University in 2009, I was going to the local craft store and pasting glitter paper onto my paintings. But at the time, my sort of stodgy professor said, he totally scolded me and was like, you can't do that if you want to make things look glittery. That's not, then just learn how to paint glitter or learn how to paint the holographic interesting things that you're interested in or the shiny things, but this mixed media stuff isn't working for you. So I listened to him, unfortunately, and went on and just painted all of the holographic glittery sparkly things that aesthetically turned me on for the next 10 years or so until a couple years back, maybe 2019, I discovered this artist who lives locally in San Diego. Her name's Cheryl Sorg, and she makes these beautiful kind of abstract shapes out of tape. And I was so fascinated by her work that when she hosted a workshop, I went to it, and basically they had tables upon tables covered with all these different shiny materials that we got to play with. And I was freaking out in heaven. She generously let me take a little baggie of them home. And then in my studio, I started experimenting with, oh, well, maybe, if I'm making a figurative painting of a woman shooting superpowers, maybe the superpowers are made out of tape. Like sort of incorporating these just shapes, elements into my other paintings. And then one day I thought, I wonder if I could just use tape exactly how I use paint because tape is just color and paint is just color. And if I'm just layering paint on top of paint, why should it be any different? Anyway, so I started trying to cut and paste tape and realized that it seemed doable and it was a challenge I was really excited about having painted full time for so many years now. It was like so exciting to have a completely different medium to mess around with that I had so much to learn. And yeah, from there, I built a 6 foot tall tape crate. I started sourcing tape from all over the world. And then it really took off when this actually all happened during the pandemic. So I'm in lockdown, I'm in my dining room. I'm like, I'm not going to sell any art. Like my career is over. No one's going to buy art, which of course, little do we know, a lot of people bought a lot of art during the pandemic. But
Yeah.
that was where my head was at, as I'm sure a lot of different artists were too. And I thought, I'm just going to try this tape thing because, I don't have anything to lose. I'm not going to sell anything anyway. So I created this little series of 10 tape paintings um, in my home in lockdown, and then released them, and they all sold out within, I don't know, a weekend. It was unbelievable. And it just kind of took off from there. So it's been a huge part of my artistic practice, and I love it. So for this gallery, I'm working on a series of 8 circle tape paintings, and I'm going to be releasing them this spring.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's fantastic. And yeah, if you haven't seen them, if you're listening, go and have a look at Sarah's Instagram and you can see them. They look great. Have you
Thanks,
seen,
John.
I think, I'm not sure who it is, or maybe there's more than one artist doing it. It's a similar kind of idea, but they just use packing tape and I think it's on glass. And they make these incredible,
Yeah.
you seen those? Yeah, they're wild, aren't they?
Yeah. One of the I think Stephen Bennett introduced me to that artist because he saw what I was doing with tape. And it's more about layers. If we're
Yeah.
thinking of the same artist, it's like the layers and the transparency. And then I think sometimes that artist will backlight their work.
Yeah, I get the feeling they started doing them on Windows and then now they just do them
Mhm.
on glass or something like that. Yeah, but
That
it's
is
very
so
interesting.
incredibly cool. That is
Yeah.
sort of reminds me of my next frontier with tape and design. Now that I'm thinking, now that everything that I've ever done is combining itself, I want to do some kind of an installation piece where because they make transparent tapes. So I want to
Mm,
create an intentionally stained glass esque
yes.
tape painting that would live, that is site specific and would live to have the light come through it. Those are some
Yeah.
ideas I'm playing around with right now.
Yeah, sounds great. Um, tell everybody the address and the opening times for your living room gallery.
All right, I will do that. I'm not looking up the address as we speak. So the gallery is located at 1943 India Street, San Diego, California, 92101. It's going to be open from April 29th through the end of May, so about May 28th. It's right in the heart of Little Italy in San Diego, and we have tons of amazing events like we talked about. Those are on my website under the little events tab, so it's sarahstieber.com/events. And it's a really great opportunity to come to San Diego. Like I said, the opening weekend is during our biggest art walk. So if you're an art lover, come for the art walk, come for the opening weekend, and stay for the grand opening party. It's going to be so much fun.
Very good. And this is all 2023 if you're listening, if you happen to be listening in the future. But it doesn't matter because if you go to Sarah's website, she'll be doing something in 24, 25, 26. So it doesn't matter. It'll be something bigger and better, probably. All right. Well, look, I wish you the best of luck with it. It sounds fantastic. You are, as ever, so inspiring and innovative in your approach to everything that you do. And I think a lot of people benefit from, these kind of very smart and creative ways you have of helping your collectors find your work and have a very nice experience in the process.
Well,
So
thank you
it's
so much, John. Such a pleasure talking to you. And I hope you can make the flight out and come to San Diego to the gallery. It would be so nice to meet you in person.
Yeah, yeah, it would be. Okay. Thanks for dropping
All right.
by.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I've never felt this good in my entire life. Make me some spaghetti.
Actually, I'd prefer a cup of tea. A cup of tea would be lovely. So, yeah, just a little reminder, mainly because every second or third person who becomes a patron has got in touch with me and said, you know what, I've been listening to your podcast for ages and I didn't become a patron, not because I don't have the money, not because I don't think it's great, I just didn't get around to it. So this is a little friendly reminder that if you'd like to be a patron, you'd like to buy me a cup of tea, go to patreon.com/John Dalton, gently does it, all one word, or follow the link in the show notes to become a patron. I would really appreciate it if you could do that, particularly if you've been meaning to and you just haven't got around to it. It would be great. It would mean a lot to me. All right, thank you. Bye.
We are the Argyle Pimps, so buy us a drink. We're better than you thought, but not as good as we think. We are the Argyle Pimps, so buy us a drink. Come on, buy us a drink. Come on, buy us a drink. We are the Argyle Pimps, so buy us a drink.